Alright, so we got our ball joint in, finally, thank goodness. And it is greasable here. Let's make this focus here. So it is a greasable ball joint here. I'll just pull it out. Just do this. Alright. So anyway, you're able to grease it. And of course it comes with the cotter pin and everything else, which is right here. Of course I had to drop that rubber stop. But yeah, we got everything in there. Got the cotter pin, got all the bolts and everything. And pretty nice little kit. Even though the bolts aren't grade 8. So probably won't use them. I'll probably find some grade 8 ones and use them. But there's a rubber stop that we dropped. But anyway, everything cleaned up right here pretty good as we can get it. There we go. And I couldn't quite get in this little tight spot there in the corner there. A little bit tight in that area back in there, a little bit tight in here, but for the most part, we got everything cleaned up. And yes, these two slots right here, that's actually stamped like that. Even got underneath too, and cleaned that up as good as I can get. And I still got a little bit of grease right up in there and over in here, but for the most part, not too bad. But anyway, we're pretty much ready to install our ball joint. And we got an issue with it, same as what I had on the other side. And we'll have to do this one. But these ball joints will work, but they will have to be modified just a little bit. And I really personally don't like doing it like this, but these are the only ones I can find, pretty much, where you can actually grease them. And there's the part number right here. It is, let's flip this around. It is, let's see, I gotta get a good view of it. It is lot number capital J, capital L, 06001. That's what that number is. It's right in here. Can't really even see it, but anyway, so here's the issue here. I don't want to go in here. It will not sit flush all the way down in there. And, you know, rather than, I have taken a micrometer, I've measured the inside of the upper A-arm from here to here, the inner diameter, measured that, and I measured the outside diameter of this, and it's got quite a bit of difference. It's about, oh shoot, almost 60 to probably 65 thousandths, something like that. Quite a bit of difference. Anyway, it's not going to go down in there, and it is the correct ball joint, and you know, it's got the correct, yeah, the pivot ball and all that, so it's definitely the correct ball joint. So here's the original right here, and this is the original. I know that for a fact because it had rivets in it. But if you look at them, they are the exact same ball joint. And the top's a little bit different right in here on the original, but pretty much the same thing. But I had to grind the heck out of that thing to get it off, but grind the heck out of it and peeled it right on off, and it's actually still pretty tight, to be honest. I really could have just left it alone, but you know, we're already in here. This car, like I said, it had suicide suspension on it, and I mean that quite literally, and that you know, I had a lot of issues with just slopping the steering, just really horrible. I mean, the tie rods were sloppy, and the idler arm, that was a joke. They had the suicide steering. That's what I call it, because it had a little adapter. You'll have to go back in the videos and look at that. It had a little adapter. It threads onto the end of the drag length, and it has like a ball joint style pivot ball, just like that. And once they get a lot of slot and play in it, you know, you can actually be going down the road and, you know, pop right out. Anyway, I made a little video about that, and that's why I call it. Hence the name suicide steering. You've heard of suicide doors. Well, this car has suicide steering. Well, not anymore, because we upgraded our drag link. If I call it an idler arm, I apologize, but our drag link. But anyway, so we got to go in here, and we got quite a bit of difference in here, and I don't want to go in here and open this hole up. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be disturbing the inside of this hole at all, so we're going to take and come in here and we're going to take a grinder, and I don't like doing it like this, but I could take to machine shop, and we're just going to turn this down just a little bit until it drops down in there. It sits flush. I do this on the other side as well, and they are the correct ball joints. They are, but for some reason these are actually a little bit thicker on the outer diameter of that. I don't know why, but they are. If you look at the original, it is not there. Unless I'm missing something, that's what I had to do. It's actually much smaller if you measure this one here. You can just tell. But yeah, it sits, see how this sits flush? That's the way it's supposed to be. Get that to focus there. But it's supposed to sit flush. Just like, yeah, let's get it focused. There we go. So that one's sitting flush. We pull that one out, put a replacement in. And that's pretty much as far as it goes, no matter how much you wiggle it. It won't drop all the way down in there. So go in here, and I'm going to take this outside diameter and just take a grinder and very lightly take that off until it drops down in there. We'll be good to go. I don't want to open this hole up whatsoever on the control arm because, I mean, you already don't have a lot of material here anyway, and I just don't want to mess with that. And I have measured these, but I really don't like turning these down and taking material off, but it's thick enough that, you know, I think we're going to be okay. So I got to do that and turn this down, just this little step right in here, and then we'll be good. But this little issue there that I wanted to point out that I've run into, and just this whole front suspension on this car is just, it's been the domino effect. And I've had to order these ball joints from like 2 different vendors in order to get them. And the original set that I bought, I got burned on because don't order anything from Chassis dudes, because I ordered a set of upper ball joints and lower ball joints, and it's 4 total because you have 2 ball joints on each side. And I got burned on that because they sent the upper ball joints, but they were not greasable. So it's false advertisement. They even had in the description, when I looked it up, that they were greasable, and a picture of them where they were greasable. They actually looked more like that style, the upper ball joints anyway. Anyway, I got them, and they were the correct upper ball joints. And after looking at them a lot more closer and measuring them, and they got the same issue. I have tested those too. It's the exact same ball joint as what this is. Exact same thing. I think it's actually the exact same manufacturer too. The only difference is this is drilled and tapped for grease fitting. That's it. And I thought about going on and drilling and tapping the ball joint set that I already had, the uppers, but I don't want to be getting shavings down in there, and you know, not be a good idea. So I didn't do that. I just ended up buying them from a different vendor, even though it's the same manufacturer, and just going that route. But that's what happened there. So I got burned on that, and they never did message me back or anything. Never got a partial refund or anything. I got burned because I bought a set of 4 ball joints and only received the upper ball joints, and they weren't even the ones I really even wanted, because you can't service them, you can't grease them, and that's just, to me, it's kind of unacceptable. But so I ended up getting a set. I ended up buying 1 ball joint. When I did the driver's side, I bought an upper ball joint first, just one, from one vendor, and it's the same manufacturer. And I bought a lower ball joint from a different vendor, even though they're pretty much the exact same manufacturer. And just to make sure that what I got before I ordered the other 2 for this side, I wasn't wasting my money, and that I was able to grease them and they fit correctly, which they do. But ahead of time with these upper ball joints, it was a time. And I got burned on that. Spent $80 on a set of 4, the original set that I bought. And I only got the uppers in the mail, so I still got 2 extra spare uppers. But again, you know, you can't grease them, and I'm just not going to put them on there. And they have the same issue too. Like I said, they will not sit all the way flush. They're actually quite a bit bigger in diameter, and you know, it's enough material there. You can turn them down. I really don't like doing that, but you know, you're not taking a whole lot off there. But I mean, what are you gonna do? You know, I've looked at all the specs, and you know, I haven't been able to find any that the this outer diameter right in here all the way around is smaller. So I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. I've ran into that problem, but anyway, so that's what I did. I'm take grind iron, ground this around all the way around until it finally, you know, set in there flush. But had a time with these ball joints. I really have. Had a time with the driver's side outer tie rod. This is, of course, the passenger side. But they sent me 2 of the passenger side tie rods, and so it had both of them had the I think it was a left-handed thread. I think that's correct. But they sent me 2 the same side, and those will not interchange. So had issues with that. The tie rods sleeves were actually correct, but this one had a little burr in it, so it wasn't quite thread on there. So now when you go take it to the alignment shop, it's not gonna. It's hard to adjust without putting vice grips on it, and you know, cranking this thing kind of hard trying to get it to adjust. So I played with that and sprayed it down, and finally got it to where it somewhat moves better. But I don't know if they had to burn the threads or not, but that sleeve's going to come back off on the side, and I'm going to just get another one. They're not very expensive. And anyway, and I had a time with this with the sway bar end links. I had a really time with them, because the original set that I bought, the first set I bought, I actually did get installed on this side, but they are purely junk. I mean, they are just pure junk. Very cheap quality junk. But it is installed, and I'm not very happy with that. Very low quality. Had to reuse the original bolt and the nut underneath. If you can see that. And the bushings that were on it, of course, I had to reuse the washers as well. I had to reuse this washer, the top one, that one, and that one. Of course, the one underneath the arm as well. There it is. But the actual bushings are pretty much junk, but it's pretty much mocked up. So I gotta get in here and measure with the micrometer here from this distance to this distance here, and I'll see what that is, and I'll write that down. Then I'll measure from the bottom of this A arm here to right in here, and I'll write that down. Then that way it'll set the sway bar to the correct distance there. But I just reused everything. All I did was just took the bushings out of the Chinese junk and used on the original stuff, and it fits. So I'll see if I can match that up and get the sway bar end links. But I mean, I tell you, I've had a time. I did finally get the coil spring in there, and definitely getting there. There's the upper ball joint there. I had to go in there and tweak that a little bit. But, I mean, it does work. I mean, it's the correct ball joint, but I had to go in there and do the same thing to get it to sit flush. There's part number for it. But anyway, I've had a time with it, and that's what I gotta do. Now, you know, this is real world stuff here, and you know, I'm gonna post this because I'm trying to help y'all out here. Because if you're an Edsel owner out there, you know, like I've always said, there's no information whatsoever on these cars, none, and there's a little bit of information about them, but it's really nothing about like the suspension or the leaf springs or the fuel tank or, you know, any of that. And that little bit like on the fuel tank doesn't really help that much. But I'm trying to give y'all, you know, the best information I possibly can and show y'all what I've run into on this car. But these ball joints, like I said, they will work, but you will have to modify it just slightly. I'm going to take a grinder and grind that off so it'll get that to slit down in there flush like it's supposed to. And, you know, I really don't like doing that, but we got enough material there that, you know, once we install our new one, this is of course our original, it will, you know, drop down in there like that and sit flush. But as you can see, our original, you know, and this is the original. It was riveted in there, so that's how I know it's original. But our new one will drop right in there. That's the way it's supposed to be. But so that's what I got to do yet. But yeah, this is, you know, that's pretty much what you get nowadays. But it can't be sitting up, you know, that high like that. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna trim this out a little bit, take some material off there, and I think we'll be good to go. And it's thick enough, you know. I think we'll be just fine. We're not taking a pile of it out, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Alright, so I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna straighten it up, get that bolted on, and then I'll have to get a coil spring compressor and get our coil spring installed, and that will be in a little bit different video. And get the A-arm back on here so we can get everything pretty much wrapped up. And I think about the only thing I don't have yet is the sway bar end links, so I had to get those yet. And like I said, I've, you know, run into an issue on them, and the one I ordered is just pure junk, honestly. But I'm gonna see if I can find them. And that's pretty much what we got. But anyway, I figure I'd post this because it is like pretty much about maybe 2% information on these Edsels. And this applies to a Galaxy too, or a Fairlane of the same year range. And them ball joints are actually used for, it's more than just, you know, a 59 Edsel. You know, they're used for 59 Galaxies, and they're used, you know, from the Galaxy all the way up, or Fairlane all the way up to, like, according to the ball joint, it said up to like 1980. So now I'm not 100% sure on that, but you know, most of the time they use the same ball joint for a while. I don't know about all the way up to 1980, but I'm sure, you know, they probably work on like a 64 Galaxy. Because there's a little secret too, is a lot of suspension stuff for a 64 Galaxy will work on this car. But watch out for the lower A-arm. I don't know what you would call that, but I'll just go straight to it. Watch out for these, I guess you would call them lower A-arm holders, whatever you want to call it. I can't think of the correct name. But on the 64 Galaxies, it's actually like a swivel that comes straight on through. And it actually, as you're driving the car, it actually changes the caster and the camber as you're driving it and going down the road. And they're just really horrible because they create a lot of tire wear. And it's kind of like a swivel kind of assembly where these are, you know, straight on through. But this is actually a little better suspension than the 63, 64 Galaxies. But anyway, thank God that car, this car doesn't have that, but that'd be a big mess. But anyway, so that's what we got. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this cleaned up and get this fitting nice so it'll drop down in there. And I think we'll take care of that. And remember, we're not taking material whatsoever out of this A-arm. Take it off. I'd rather take it off the ball joint than this A-arm, so that if I mess it up, all I gotta do is buy another ball joint. But we're not taking that much material off, just enough to, you know, get that thing to drop in there. And it would almost fit. See, almost, that side will go in right there. But now we notice this side over here won't go in. So we really, you know, we don't need to take much at all. And rather than force it, you know, I'd rather just take just a tiny bit of material off and let it drop in. Because you don't want to force anything, okay? You don't want to mess up this top here. Then you won't be able to grease it. But always make sure when you install your ball joints, leave the grease fitting out. Put a little piece of tape over it. And that way you don't bust off that brand new grease fitting. Been there, done that. And then you got still stuck behind a brand new ball joint. Anyway, I'm going to end the video here. And that's what we got. Hopefully that does help.